Our media partners at the San Francisco Standard have launched an investigation into the San Francisco Fire Department after their practice of injecting people with sedatives came to light. We first reported on it earlier this month when the woman in this video filed a lawsuit against the city and county of San Francisco. She was forcibly removed from the Chase Center while protesting at an NBA Finals game in June. She then says a paramedic injected her with a sedative without her consent. As the Standard reports in a new article, SF Fire has injected people with a sedative 4,000 times since 2018. So now they're asking why. And joining us live is Josh Koehn, senior reporter for the Standard. Josh, good to see you.
Great to see you too, Kristen.
All right, so the fire department and EMTs do enter situations where they might have to calm people down, and sometimes they administer sedatives. So what are the questions raised in your investigation?
Yeah, the first question was just how often is this happening? We were looking into the lawsuit that was filed by this person, Kristen Sze, who claimed that they were drugged against their will at a Warriors finals game. And so the first question was just, okay, well, if this happened to this person, how often is it happening to other people in San Francisco? And we found that based on our records request, it had happened more than 4,000 times since the beginning of 2018. And just the broad numbers, that just is kind of startling. No one in our newsroom was aware that sedatives were being administered 2 to 3 times a day across the city. And we started reaching out to medical experts and people in the activist community. And many of them were also surprised to learn just how widespread this practice is amongst paramedics in the SF Fire Department.
All right, in the McKnight case, we saw a video of her that her attorney shared. You saw her inside the ambulance, and they told her that the sedative was administered for safety. So is that a reasonable explanation, and one that in your investigation, found if that's one that they use a lot?
Well, for Kristen McKnight's case, they say that it was done against their will, and there was no reason to do it. It was just an act of civil disobedience. Kareem also said that a police sergeant more or less threatened them with a sedative if they didn't calm down, and that's when the needle came out. When we spoke with the fire department, a spokesperson told us that midazolam, the sedative that they administer, is usually only done to protect someone from harming themselves or others. We do know that there have been incidents in the past in which people were being non-compliant with officers trying to arrest them, and they were administered midazolam. In one instance in 2017, a man died after receiving the shot. The medical examiner did not rule that that was the cause of death. And we did just find out this afternoon from the fire department that they're saying that they are not aware of anyone having a severe adverse reaction or dying after a result of receiving a sedative while in restraints.
Okay. Look, I know in hospitals it's not unreasonable to give potentially violent patients a sedative, right? But are EMTs allowed to do so on the street without consent and using it on protesters who don't think they're being violent? I mean, who makes the call, right? I wonder if that's in the books somewhere in SF Fire Department.
Yeah, they do have a policy in place on how and when to give a sedative to someone. In the policy, it actually says that someone can refuse to receive it. However, the policy also says that you're not going to give a sedative to someone unless they are basically not capable of calming down. So it kind of goes both ways. We're all used to seeing movies in which a person is given a sedative, often, against their will.
Yeah.
When it comes to the way that San Francisco Fire does it, we try to ask for when, where, and why all of these sedatives have been given. And the fire department has cited HIPAA law and also saying that it does not compile this data in a way. I would question whether or not that is a best practice, considering that if you're going to be giving out, 4,000 shots since the beginning of 2018, the public has a right to know why people are getting these shots, when and where. Kristen McKnight's case very much is apropos to this because they were protesting the Roe v. Wade decision by the Supreme Court. And there were a lot of protests in 2020, which is also the year that the fire department gave out the most sedatives out of this 4.5-year period. So we'd like to know more answers about why, when, and where.
All right. So, Josh, don't go away. We want to continue this conversation with you to dive a little bit more into what the San Francisco Public Health Department told you and what the fire department's response is. So you can join us on Facebook Live. But in the meantime, you can check out more of the San Francisco Standard's original reporting on their website, sfstandard.com. And ABC 7 News will continue to bring you more segments featuring their city-focused journalism.